This is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor.
This is just me talking about my personal financial journey. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Enjoy the show!
I'd rather be rich in Beverly Hills or living on the street under an overpass than be stuck in the middle class.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
You hear a statement like that and, well, you flinch.
Yeah, it sounds completely insane at first glance.
Highly controversial, definitely jarring. But the text we are unpacking today argues that this statement isn't crazy at all. It's actually, the logical conclusion of a broken American dream. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at excerpts from a pretty provocative piece of writing called The Golden Cage, Escaping the Modern Middle Class Trap.
It's definitely a heavy hitter.
Okay, so let's unpack this because I want to be clear right up front. We aren't here to judge this quote or take a political stance on it.
Right, absolutely.
We're here to dissect the economic reality it exposes. We're looking at this idea of the high-stress golden cage of the middle class, that constant mental strain of having something to lose, and why the traditional path just feels fundamentally rigged for so many of you out there today.
And what's fascinating here is that this text, it's not a literal instruction manual for how to become unhoused.
Good, because that would be a terrible strategy.
Exactly. It's fundamentally an exploration of a mindset, right? The author isn't actually advocating for destitution. By presenting these two wild extremes, like the ultimate wealth of Beverly Hills versus the total destitution of the overpass, they're using a rhetorical device.
To highlight the friction in the middle.
Yes. It's a really sharp, candid critique of the modern economic squeeze. They're just trying to give a voice to a very palpable modern anxiety.
I have to admit, when I first read the source material, I really struggled with it. I mean, I always assumed the middle class was the safest place to be.
Actually, we were all taught, yeah.
Right. So it took me a minute to wrap my head around this text, claiming it's actually the most dangerous, most exhausting place in the economy. So break it down for us. Walk me through the actual math of this trap. Why is the middle so squeezed?
Well, the squeeze happens because the middle class is structurally designed to bear the heaviest load. Let's look at the mechanics of it. The middle class relies almost entirely on W-2 income.
Like a standard salary.
Exactly. And W-2 income is the most heavily taxed form of money in our current economic system. Every single dollar you earn is taxed before you even see it.
Yeah, it just vanishes from the paycheck.
Right. So you have a demographic paying the highest effective tax rates while simultaneously carrying the heaviest debt burdens. I'm talking mortgages, student loans, car payments.
And the credit cards that people use just to bridge the gap between those paychecks.
Precisely.
But wait, don't the ultra-wealthy pay high taxes too? I mean, their tax brackets are technically higher, right?
On paper, yes. The top marginal income tax brackets are higher. But, and this is the crucial difference between the top and the middle, that's not how the ultra-wealthy generate money.
Oh, because they aren't relying on a W-2 salary.
Exactly. They rely on asset appreciation. So stocks, real estate, businesses. And the text points out that they have access to highly intricate wealth shielding mechanisms.
Which usually sounds like a lot of financial jargon to me. What does a wealth shielding mechanism actually look like in practice?
A prime example is a strategy often called buy, borrow, die.
Buy, borrow, die. Cheerful name.
Right. But here's how it works. If you are ultra wealthy and you hold millions in stock or real estate, you don't sell those assets to pay for your lifestyle.
Because selling means paying a capital gains tax.
Bingo. Instead, you go to a bank and you take out a massive loan using those assets as collateral. And borrowed money is not taxable income.
Wait, really?
Really. So you get all the cash you need to live lavishly, completely tax-free, while your underlying assets continue to grow in value. And that growth usually outpaces the low interest rate of the loan.
Wow. And obviously the middle class cannot do this.
Not at all. They have to sell their time for taxable wages just to literally survive.
That completely flips the script.
Yeah.
So the middle class is paying full freight on their income while the top has structural loopholes.
Yes.
But what about the other end of the spectrum, like the lower income brackets?
Well, on the bottom end, if you fall into lower income brackets, you qualify for societal safety nets. Now, to be incredibly clear, because the text emphasizes this, navigating poverty is undeniably brutal.
Right, the author's quote about the overpass is pure hyperbole.
Absolutely. But from a purely structural mathematical standpoint, there are subsidized programs designed to assist with housing, food, and health care for the lowest earners.
So the middle class is just stuck in this barren middle ground.
Exactly. They earn too much to qualify for any assistance, but they earn far too little to access the collateralized loans and tax shelters of the rich. They bear the full, unfiltered weight of the system.
It's like, I was thinking about this while reading. It's like the middle class is the shock absorber of the entire economy.
I like that analogy.
Like, think about a car driving over a massive pothole. The ultra-wealthy are driving a tank with titanium armor, right? They don't even feel the bump.
Right, they just roll right over it.
And the lower income brackets are given at least some basic cushioning, some social safety nets to try and prevent total destruction of the vehicle.
Yeah.
But the middle class, they literally are the shock absorber itself.
They're taking the hit.
Yeah, they are taking all the hard kinetic energy of a bumpy economy directly, absorbing the blow so the whole vehicle keeps moving.
And let's take that shock absorber metaphor a step further because it illustrates the mechanics perfectly. How does a literal shock absorber work?
I'm not a mechanic, but I think it takes kinetic energy and turns it into heat.
Exactly. It dissipates the force. But over time, what happens? It wears out. The middle class takes the kinetic energy of economic friction, things like sudden inflation or rising property taxes, and they have to dissipate it by taking on personal debt.
Oh, man.
They absorb the societal shock by putting the grocery bill on a credit card or, refinancing their home. Over time, taking all those hits, their financial health just completely wears out.
That makes the term golden cage so much darker. Because on the outside, it looks shiny.
It does.
You have all the visible markers of success, the suburban house with a yard, the 2 cars. Maybe you're dropping $30 on a tiny box of organic strawberries at the fancy grocery store.
The good strawberries.
Right. From the outside, it looks like you're winning.
But the gold is just the illusion of comfort. It's lifestyle creep. The cage is the underlying reality that you must keep running on that treadmill indefinitely just to service the debt and the taxes that those comforts require.
You own the things, but the things actually own you.
Precisely.
And when every single dollar of your paycheck is spoken for before it even clears your bank account, going to the mortgage, the insurance premiums, the property taxes, the student loan servicer, that doesn't just empty your wallet. That has to completely rewire your nervous system.
Oh, absolutely. And that psychological toll is where the text really digs in. We aren't just talking about a spreadsheet problem here.
It's way deeper than that.
Right. This financial squeeze creates a very specific, chronic, low-grade fever of anxiety. The author defines it as the unique terror of having just enough to lose.
Just enough to lose. That phrase from the source material really stopped me in my tracks.
It's haunting, isn't it?
It really is. It perfectly captures that feeling of playing a really high-stakes video game. Imagine you spent hundreds of hours grinding. You've collected all this good gear, built a great base, upgraded your character. You have all this stuff. But the game has absolutely no save points.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that tracks perfectly with the daily reality of this demographic.
You are constantly terrified because one wrong move, one glitch, one unexpected boss fight, and you lose years of progress. You can never just put the controller down and relax.
Because there's no safety net.
Exactly. In the real world, that boss fight is a sudden transmission failure in your car, or it's a massive unexpected medical bill. It's your company restructuring and laying off middle management. Every single minor obstacle feels like it could wipe out years of grinding.
And the cruelest part of that analogy is that the game isn't static. It's not just that there are no save points. It's that the enemies are constantly leveling up while your weapons stay the exact same.
Because of inflation.
Yes. That's what inflation does to a stagnant wage. And to ground this in hard data for a second, consider the well-documented statistic that a significant percentage of middle-class families are just one $400 emergency expense away from financial ruin.
$400?
Yes. That's not a catastrophic medical event. That's just needing 4 new tires.
That is absolutely terrifying. I mean, when a flat tire is an existential threat to your family's stability, you aren't living a comfortable life, no matter how nice the driveway is where that car is parked.
And this brings us to why the contrast with the extremes is so stark in the author's mind. The ultra-wealthy are heavily insulated from those minor financial shocks. If the roof leaks, they just write a check.
It doesn't impact their long-term trajectory at all.
Or keep them awake at night, right. On the other end of the spectrum, those at the absolute bottom of the economic ladder mathematically cannot fall any further. The worst has already happened.
They're already on the ground.
Exactly. The fear of a sudden, precipitous drop is gone because they are already on the ground floor.
But the middle class is living out on a ledge.
They are on a ledge, 3 stories up, with no safety harness, and the ledge itself is crumbling under the weight of inflation.
That is a stressful image.
They view the middle not as a comfortable place of rest, but as a highly precarious defensive position. I mean, they've accumulated a mortgage, a credit score, a reputation, a standard of living, all of which are super fragile.
And it is financially and emotionally exhausting to constantly protect your position against emergencies and, like, a shifting job market.
Exactly.
And because that defensive posture is so exhausting, it directly explains why the author entertains these extreme fantasies of escape. Which brings us right back to that wild dichotomy we started with, Beverly Hills versus the overpass. The two perceived exits from the golden cage.
Let's look at that first exit.
Right, Beverly Hills. That represents luxury, obviously, but more importantly, it represents ultimate agency. If you are ultra-rich, you control your time.
You control your environment.
You are totally insulated from the friction of daily survival. That makes perfect sense. Everyone fantasizes about winning the lottery. But here's where it gets really interesting to me, and I have to push back a bit on the romance of the overpass.
The second, far more controversial exit.
Yes, and let's be real, the author does not literally want to endure the brutal physical and psychological hardships of being unhoused. There's nothing romantic about freezing temperatures, lack of sanitation, or food insecurity.
Right, nobody's aspiring to that reality.
So we really have to decode this hyperbole. What does the overpass actually symbolize in the context of this middle-class trap?
Well, according to the text, the overpass represents a hyperbolic sentiment of total freedom from societal rat race expectations. The middle class isn't just crushed by debt and taxes, they're equally crushed by the social contract.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Essentially, yes. There is an immense unspoken expectation to maintain a certain image, which we touched on earlier with the organic strawberries.
It's like this unpaid part-time job of just maintaining the facade. The lawns have to be perfectly mowed, the cars have to be relatively new so the neighbors don't whisper.
The kids need to be in 3 different expensive extracurricular activities.
You need to dress a certain way for the office.
And all of that costs money, which drives you deeper into the cage. So the overpass fantasy is essentially the fantasy of opting out. It's the appeal of dropping the heavy luggage of expectation.
Oh, yeah.
If you live under an overpass, nobody expects you to have a pristine credit score. Nobody cares if you missed a payment on a luxury SUV. Nobody is judging your lawn. It is a radical, extreme rejection of the social contract that dictates you must trade your time and your peace of mind for material status.
It's basically saying, I am so tired of playing this rigged game that I would rather flip the entire game board over than keep rolling the dice.
That's it, perfectly. Escaping to the extremes represents the only 2 ways to step off the game board. You either conquer the game completely, meaning you achieve Beverly Hills wealth and the rules no longer apply to you, or you refuse to play the game entirely, stepping so far outside the system that its pressures can't reach you.
So it's just about ending the struggle.
Yes, the sheer effort required to just stay in the middle is so agonizing that either extreme feels like a relief, simply because they represent a definitive end to the striving.
Now, if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, didn't previous generations struggle too? Like, my grandparents lived through the Great Depression or rationing during the war, and they still aspire to the middle class.
They definitely didn't see it as a cage.
Right. So why did entire generations of people historically aspire to the exact thing this author is so desperate to escape?
That brings us to the final and perhaps most crucial theme of the source material, the generational disconnect. The fundamental mechanics of the middle class have shifted radically over the last few decades.
Okay, how so?
Well, the text asserts that a middle-class income simply no longer delivers the effortless stability and upward mobility it did a generation ago. We have to look at the macroeconomic shifts, specifically starting around the 1970s.
What exactly changed in the 70s?
We saw the decoupling of wage growth and productivity. So before the 70s, as the American economy became more productive, wages grew right alongside it. The middle class shared in the wealth they were generating.
That makes sense.
But after that point, productivity kept climbing while real wages stagnated. Combine that with inflation, which acts as a stealth tax on wage earners. When inflation happens, the wealthy see their real estate and stocks go up in value.
But the middle-class worker?
Their paycheck just buys less at the grocery store.
Yeah.
The math fundamentally broke.
So what does this all mean? Think about it like an escalator. Previous generations, like the post-war era, the 50s, 60s, up through the 80s, they bought a ticket for the middle-class escalator. It cost them something, sure. Hard work, a standard 40-hour week. But once they got on, the machine did the work. It smoothly carried them upward. A single income could buy a home, support a family, pay for a state college, and guarantee a pension.
The effort-to-reward ratio was structurally balanced. You could reasonably expect to end up better off than your parents.
But today, the modern middle class is buying the exact same, very expensive ticket. They're doing everything they were told to do,
Right.
getting the degree, landing the salary job, buying the starter home, but they get to the escalator and the machine is broken.
It's just a massive set of stairs now.
Exactly. And not only do they have to manually sprint up these stairs, but they're doing it while carrying incredibly heavy luggage. Massive student loan debt, exorbitant childcare costs, hyperinflated housing prices, all while their wages haven't kept pace.
This raises an important question, though. Is the author angry at the idea of the middle class or angry at what it has become?
Ah, that's a good distinction.
When we synthesize the core argument of the text, it becomes clear that this controversial quote isn't born from a hatred of the middle class as a concept. It is born from a profound grief.
Grief over the loss of the escalator.
Yes. It's disillusionment over what the middle class used to be versus the painful, grinding economic reality it has become today. The author was promised a smooth escalator ride, and instead they were handed a treadmill with a steep incline.
And the treadmill keeps speeding up. I mean, you now essentially need a two-income household just to afford the exact same standard of living that a one-income household enjoyed 40 years ago. We're running twice as fast just to stay in the exact same place.
And that sense of betrayal is what fuels the hyperbole of wanting to just drop out and live under an overpass.
Right.
It's a protest against a broken promise. They followed the rules. They entered the golden cage, expecting the gold to outweigh the confinement.
But the gold is tarnishing.
And the bars are getting tighter.
It is just a profound systemic exhaustion. And we've really journeyed through the architecture of that exhaustion today. I mean, we looked at the high-stress treadmill of taxes and debt, where W-2 earners are squeezed without the asset-backed loopholes of the rich.
The buy, borrow, die strategy.
Right. And we unpacked the psychological terror of living on a crumbling ledge, where a simple flat tire can wipe out years of progress. We decoded that desperate desire to escape societal expectations, realizing that the fantasy of the overpass is really about throwing off the crushing weight of keeping up appearances.
Mounting the luggage.
Yeah. And finally, we explored the broken escalator of the modern economy, where wage stagnation has turned the traditional American dream into a desperate sprint.
It's a heavy realization, it really is. But understanding the macroeconomics behind it is crucial for making sense of modern anxiety.
And that brings us directly to you, the listener. Take a moment to reflect on your own relationship with this golden cage. Because whether you are actively feeling the squeeze yourself, like staring at your own monthly overhead, dealing with lifestyle creep, and wondering why you feel so stuck despite doing everything right, or whether you're observing this stress in your peers, your children, or your community, this deep dive provides a crucial lens.
It validates that this feeling of drowning isn't just in your head, and it isn't necessarily a personal failing.
That is the biggest takeaway here. If you are feeling this strain, it is not simply a lack of budgeting skills or a failure of willpower. It is a recognized, documented macroeconomic reality. You are participating in a system that is structurally designed to keep you running on that treadmill.
Understanding the mechanics of the cage, like recognizing the tax burdens, the inflation trap, and those societal pressures, is the very first step to figuring out how to survive it without losing your peace of mind.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to mull over as we wrap up today's deep dive. We've established that the traditional middle-class path has morphed into an anxiety-inducing cage. We've also established that the two extremes, achieving ultra-wealth in Beverly Hills or totally dropping out under an overpass, are either practically inaccessible or genuinely undesirable. So, what does the new model of stability look like for you?
If the old game board is broken, how do we rewrite the rules for ourselves?
Perhaps the ultimate luxury in today's economy isn't found in a Beverly Hills mansion. And it certainly isn't found in total detachment from society. Maybe true freedom is found in actively redefining what enough means to you, completely independent of the societal rat race scoreboard. If the anxiety comes from having just enough to lose, maybe the cure isn't grinding endlessly to acquire more to protect yourself, but rather caring a little less about the goal so you can finally step out of the cage.